Hey everybody, how's it going? Tommy Star here, TD Healthy 2015, bringing you another video. Today's video is another top 10 video, and I know I really wanted to do this in October for Halloween month, and I'm so sorry. I'm just kicking myself over this because I really wanted to get this out before Halloween, but I was so busy, I had a lot of shows, a lot of stuff going on, and couldn't get the video done, so I apologize. But today is November 3rd. It's been a couple days since Halloween, so we'll just pretend that Halloween hasn't come yet. So happy Halloween, everybody. I do hope everybody had a safe and happy, awesome, kick-ass Halloween. I know I did. I had a couple Halloween shows. Got to dress up for a couple of them. One of them I dressed up as Leatherface, which I do all the time. And also, my band, we all dressed up as evil clowns for our big Halloween show. Yeah, I know, with the whole clown thing going on right now, to be honest with you, was something that we decided to do months ago before this whole clown thing happened. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. We had a great show, great turnout, as we always do at this particular bar that we always play on Halloween. It was my 2-year anniversary with my new band. So yeah, kick-ass time. So anyways, I hope your guys' Halloween was just as awesome as mine. My son got a ton of candy. He had a good time. He was Harry Potter this year. So anyways, enough said of all that stuff. Let's get into the video. So like I said, another top 10 video, and these are going to be my all-time favorite top 10 horror films. Again, a lot of thought was put into the top 10 list for my horror movies. You know, this was a hard one. I won't lie. I would say this was even harder than, you know, just movies, you know, all-time favorite movies of all time. This was a tough one because I'm so into horror and I love so many different horror movies, and it was really hard to break this down, but I think I got it figured out. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and get into it. I'm going to show you my top 10 favorite horror films of all time, and right before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a couple titles, again, of some mentions that didn't quite make it into the list, but almost did. Check them out. So there you have it. So like I said, just a couple titles almost made it in the top 10, but not quite. So now we're going to go ahead, get into it, everybody. I'm going to show you my all-time favorite top 10 horror films of all time, starting with number 10. All right, so starting things out, everybody, with number 10, a movie called The Gate from 1987, directed by Tibor Takacs. Takacs. I have no freaking idea how to say that last name. So this was a movie I remember first seeing when I was probably young, maybe 9. I've always liked this movie. I remember it freaked the shit out of me as a little kid, but yet I kept watching it because I loved it so much. A very fun film. In this movie, we get to see a really young Stephen Dorff. He's about maybe 10 in this movie. So I don't know if it was maybe his first movie he ever did. This movie's really cool. It's kind of rare. You don't really hear about it much. There's also a sequel to this movie called The Gate 2: Return to the Nightmare, or something like that. Yeah, I think so. It's a rare out-of-print title that if you want, you got to pay like $50+ for. Eventually, I'm going to get that. But anyway, this is the only one in this update or this top 10 video that I have on DVD because I've yet to find a Blu-ray for this. However, this is a pretty cool monstrous special edition, they call it. Came out a few years back. And added some really cool special features on here, including audio commentary with the filmmakers, all new cast and crew interviews, including writer Michael Mankin, and special effects creators Randall William Cook and Craig Reardon, theatrical trailer, widescreen presentation, English and Spanish subtitles. So a couple cool features on this. This movie basically is about these couple kids, these two friends, and then one of the kids' sister, the three of them. They end up opening up this gate to hell, basically. They kind of summon it through lyrics in this like heavy metal record that one of the kids had, and they end up bringing demons out, and they come out of this hole in the ground, and they're doing everything they can to try to stop them, try to close the gate. It's just a lot of fun. It's just a really cool movie. A lot of really creepy elements to this movie. Some pretty cool special effects for its time. I'll definitely say that. But definitely check this movie out. If you haven't seen this, I highly recommend this movie. The second kid in this movie, his name is Louis Tripp. He actually comes back for the sequel. He's the only one that actually came back for the sequel. The sequel is actually not too bad also, and not as good as this, but it's decent. And I definitely will get my hands on that very soon. But anyway, number 10, The Gate. Check this movie out. If you guys want to see a little hypnosis on the back there. But yeah, check this movie out. Really all right, coming in at number 9 is Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects. House of a Thousand Corpses, which is the first one in this series. It was really good. Rob Zombie's first movie, I thought he did a fantastic job. Really creepy movie, really good, really different. And I love that movie. But the one that I'm putting in this top 10 list is the second installment, The Devil's Rejects Part 2. The Devil's Rejects is fantastic. There's something about this movie that just had me in awe when I first seen this movie. It's so different. In this movie, Rob Zombie just really mind fucks you. You don't even know it's happening, but you end up rooting for the bad guys in this movie. It's basically the first one, the three main characters here, Captain Spaulding, Otis, and Baby. They killed a bunch of people in the first one, and one of the people they killed was this cop. And the cop's brother, who is the sheriff, Sheriff Wydell, he kind of goes crazy, and is hunting these three down. To basically, get revenge for killing his brother. And he's just kind of, got a spring loose and just goes wacko, just doing everything he can to find them so he can just kill the three of them. And basically, it's the three of them running from the cop. And it's just different. I mean, even though these are just crazy, psychotic killers, it's weird how you unintentionally start feeling bad for them. It's just so weird how Rob Zombie did that. Just he makes you feel bad for them at the end when the sheriff finally catches the three of them and starts torturing them. It's just weird. You start feeling bad for three like psychopathic killers. But it's such a cool movie. I love everything about it. Some really different elements that you've never really seen before in a horror movie. And I gotta say, high five to Rob Zombie. He just kicked ass. I mean, he did amazing in the first movie, but what he did with the second movie just blew my freaking mind. But anyways, I had to put this in my top 10. This is definitely a favorite movie of mine. I had to share it with you guys. But yeah, definitely check this out. This is the Blu-ray combo pack. You get both of them in here, but absolutely love this movie, Devil's Rejects.
Did I mention it's from 2005? Yeah, I forgot to tell you that.
All right, coming in at number 8 is 2001's Jeepers Creepers, directed by Victor Salva. This movie, part 1, I don't know why, there was something about this movie that scared the living shit out of me when I seen it. And, I would have been like 19 at the time or something. Just a creepy movie. This movie is really cool, really different. It's like most horror movies, you got yourself some crazy killer, chasing you down, but in this movie, it ends up being something different, not just like just some regular guy or something. I mean, he ends up being something that is just out of this world, some kind of a freaking demon or something. But I wasn't a big fan of the second one. I thought it was okay, a little entertaining, but I was disappointed because I liked the first one so much. I was hoping for so much more from the second one. The third one has been in production for years and years and years. Hopefully we'll see it soon. You just never know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on the internet about it. I think they're even calling it Cathedral. I don't know how sure things are right now with it. They ran into a lot of issues through production. But maybe one day we'll see it, because it's supposed to be a pretty big origin story to explain a lot about the Creeper. But enough said about that. This movie was just freaking awesome. This movie, like I said, it scared the shit out of me, and I don't know why. I mean, Basically, the story goes, it's a brother and sister driving home from college, some back farm roads, and they, as they're driving along, this person in a truck comes up behind them, blaring on the horn, hitting the back of their car, and scaring the shit out of them, and they don't know what's going on, and then eventually the van just drives around and leaves. It literally scares the shit out of them. And anyways, after a little bit of time goes by and they kind of just calm down, and they end up coming across this church, and they see that truck parked at the church, and they see this guy wearing a cowboy hat, and he's dumping like what looks like dead bodies wrapped in sheets down a pipe, full of like blood and stuff. And as they see this, the creeper turns and looks at them and sees them. And there was something about that scene that just scared the hell out of me. As he sees them, as they're driving by, and he's looking straight at them from a distance. I don't know, it was just so creepy. And then sure enough, the next scene is him getting in the truck, coming after them. And then they just start freaking out, stepping on the gas, and so, somehow the van just comes right back on them, and smashing into them again, and it kind of runs them off the road, and it takes off again. Basically it's, this creeper thing is just like, haunting them and scaring the shit out of them. That's kind of what it turns into, and then at the end of the movie you end up finding out a little bit of what he is and why he does what he does. It's creepy when you find out exactly what this thing is. But yeah, I don't know, like I said, it just really scared the shit out of me. Not so much anymore these days, but back in the day it really did. I have to admit, I slept with the light on that night. Don't tell anybody. When I first seen it, but anyway, check this movie out. Like I said, second one's not that good. Hopefully we'll see a third one. But yeah, Jeepers Creepers. If you want to see the back there, if I can do it without a glare. Hopefully you guys can see that. Anyway, but yeah. All right, next in line at number 7, we got David Cronenberg's 1986 The Fly, the remake, with Jeff Goldblum. This movie has been a favorite of mine for many, many years. I even really like the sequel to this. I thought the sequel was really good with Eric Stoltz. But this movie's really good. Jeff Goldblum at his best. Really creepy. The movie, it kind of takes a really big turn at the end. It does a pretty big 180 at the end of the movie. It goes from kind of like, not really a scary movie to a little bit of a thriller to like a straight up horror movie at the end. And the makeup and effects in this movie I thought were pretty damn good for 1986, especially when he becomes the total fly at the end. Looks really cool. I love this movie. I think it's just amazing. I just love the cinematography in this film, the dialogue in this film, the acting I think is amazing. Gina Davis as a supporting actress. Definitely check this movie out if you haven't seen this. Like I said, this is the remake from the original 1950s or whatever that was, 1950s or 40s, The Fly. But really good movie. What can I say about it? I'm sure a lot of you know what this movie's about. This scientist ends up creating these teleportation machines where you can teleport between them, and it wasn't really working for living things, and eventually when he thinks he figured it out by transporting a baboon, he ends up trying it on himself, and a fly guy gets into the telepod with him, and when it gets transported, the machine ends up meshing them together, and then but it doesn't happen right away. He's normal at first and slowly starts turning into this fly. But it's really creepy, really good movie, really entertaining. I've loved this movie for years. You guys can see the back there, but yeah, check the movie out for sure. Okay, really, so coming in at number 6 is 1988's original Child's Play, directed by Tom Holland. I love this entire franchise. Every one of these, all 6 of these movies are just awesome. Very, very favorite films of mine. Like I said, every single one of them. But if I had to break it down, obviously number 1 is the best in this franchise. The one that started it all. We first got introduced to Chucky. A really cool movie. That's definitely when Chucky was at his creepiest. He got a little bit more of a comedic effect as the movies went on. But the original Child's Play from 1988 is just an all-time favorite of mine. I absolutely love it. Just a really fun, entertaining film. One of those films I watch every Halloween. Pretty much all these top 10 films I watch every Halloween. But every Halloween I got to do a Chucky marathon. And number one is just fantastic. So good. I know everybody knows about Chucky. It's a killer doll. Serial killer named Charles Lee Ray possesses, transfers his soul into a good guy doll, which was a kind of like a ripoff of My Buddy from the 80s, if you guys remember that. So then now basically Chucky is in the body of this good guy doll, and he needs to transfer his soul into the first person he let in on his secret to, which ends up being Andy, a little 6-year-old boy. So basically the whole film is after Andy trying to get his body transferred, his spirit soul transferred into the body of Andy. Really, really good movie. Like I said, really good supporting cast. You get Chris Sarandon in here, from like Fright Night and whatnot. Alex Vincent, who plays Andy, who I met before, really good guy. But yeah, definitely love this movie. The original Child's Play is the best. My second favorite is probably a toss-up between 2 and Bride of Chucky. There's something about Bride of Chucky I've always liked as well. Bride of Chucky is really good. Another good, fun Halloween film to watch. But yeah, Child's Play, gotta love it. All right, so coming in at number 5 is 2001's Joyride, directed by John Dahl. This, of course, stars Paul Walker, the late great Paul Walker, Steve Zahn. Really, really cool movie. That's what I can say about this movie. Really, really cool. I've liked this movie for a very long time. Basically about 2 brothers driving across country, and ends up getting basically getting fucked with by this trucker. And the trucker is, they end up meeting through CB. The 2 brothers are kind of playing around, goofing off on the CB, pretending they're other people. And that's how they come across Rusty Nail is what the trucker's name is. And then he pretty much is just taunting them and just fucking with them the whole movie, and ends up being this crazy psychotic killer. But really, really cool movie, really stylish movie. Great acting, one of Paul Walker's best, I think, in my opinion. One hell of an actor. So sad that we lost that guy. Definitely rest in peace, Paul Walker. I really love this movie. It spawned a couple sequels, part 2, part 3, which were okay, to be honest with you. I don't think it was really good storylines or plots, but had some, really kick-ass death scenes. Russ Chanel, actually, the character of Russ Chanel is in part 2 and part 3. So those are straight to video. Okay movies, but this one definitely is by far the greatest. But yeah, really, really cool movie. You guys want to read that back there? I'm hoping you guys can see this stuff because I'm getting such glare and shit in here. I don't know, but anyway, definitely a movie I had to pick up on Blu-ray. But yeah, check this movie out. A really, really good movie. Been a favorite of mine for a very, very long time. All right, coming in at number 4 is none other than Stephen King's Misery from 1990, directed by Rob Reiner, starring James Caan and Kathy Bates. What can I say about this movie? A friggin' masterpiece. This movie was done so perfectly. One of, I think, Stephen King's best film adaptations. Probably my second favorite Stephen King film adaptation. This movie is just fantastic. The performances in this movie were just unlike anything I've ever seen before. Kathy Bates just steals the show. James Caan, of course, does a fantastic job. But Kathy Bates, her performance in this movie is, like, in my opinion, right up there with, like, Heath Ledger as the Joker. Unforgettable. She just did a fantastic job. I just actually started reading the book of this last night. I'm not that far in, like 15 pages, and it's already so different. Everybody knows books are always better, and I'm really getting into the book, but this movie is just so good. This particular version I have is just one of those stupid J cards that they stick on the front, no slipcase or anything, but there's the original cover there. I watch this movie every Halloween, if not a few times throughout the year. It's so good. Recently got it on Blu-ray. But if anybody's never seen this movie, it's about this author named Paul Sheldon who ends up getting in a car wreck out kind of like in the Colorado mountains. And this woman ends up finding him and, you know, basically saving his life. You know, bringing him back to her farmhouse and, you know, nurses him back to health. You know, she's or was a nurse or whatever. And she ends up being, you know, what she calls his #1 fan. And he writes these books called the Misery novels, and that are based on this woman named Misery. And basically, she ends up finding out that his most recent release of Misery ends up killing Misery in the book. And she just freaks out when she finds out that he did that, and then just turns into a psychopath. And just is just torturing him, and you know, he can't walk because his legs got you know, got really fucked up in the car crash. And yeah, I mean, it's just her just keeping him trapped in this house, held captive. And there's nothing really he can do, and then she forces him to write this new Misery novel, The Return of Misery. But yeah, check this out. I mean, like I said, the performances alone are worth watching this movie for. But yeah, absolutely love this film, Misery. There's a little shot of the back there if you guys can pick it up. Top favorite of mine. All right, coming in at number 3, Stephen King's It, from 1990, directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. As you guys know, I just recently picked this movie up, and all the bullshit I went through to get it, but finally came to Blu-ray last month. I'm so happy it did. This movie, I think out of any other horror movie I can think of, scared the crap out of me more than anything. This definitely is #1. When I was young, even though I kept forcing myself to watch this movie, it was by far scared the shit out of me more than any other movie I can think of. Fantastic. Wasn't really a movie. This was like a 2-part mini-series that was released in 1990. I don't know really what channel it came out on, but it was like a 2-nighter. I think if I remember right, they released one and then the other one a week later or something like that. But anyway, you know, it's basically just one long movie. It's like a 3-hour movie because each part was like an hour and a half. But such a creepy movie. Definitely the best Stephen King film adaptation ever, in my opinion. Absolutely love it. It's so cool, so fun, so freaky. Great performances. A lot of top actors in this movie. You got the late great John Ritter. Who else you get in here? You get Richard Thomas. Who else is in here? Annette O'Toole, Tim Reed, Dennis Christopher, Harry Anderson, and of course Tim Curry. Amazing performance by Tim Curry. His all-time best performance, if you ask me. I mean, he just did amazing in this film as Pennywise the Clown. But there's so many things I like about this movie. I collect so many different Stephen King items. I absolutely love this. I'm so happy it came to Blu-ray. My life would be complete if I could meet this guy, if I could meet Tim Curry. Recently suffered a stroke in the last year or two. I don't know if you guys noticed, but he recently was on that TV show, that TV version of a Rocky Horror Picture Show. He actually had a little cameo in that film. Yeah, I feel so bad for what he's gone through lately, but you know, he's not giving up. He's pushing hard. You know, way to go, Tim Curry, man. But yeah, fantastic movie. Always love this movie. Watch it every Halloween. Just terrifying. Had to get this in my top 10. All right, coming in at number 2, the 1974 classic, directed by Tobe Hooper, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This movie is again right up there with like It, and a movie that scared the crap out of me as a kid. I think this movie still holds up to this day. There's not really many movies that I watch nowadays that I can really say scare me. There's a few, but I think this is definitely one of them. You know, back in the 70s and 80s, more in the 70s. It wasn't really about killings and gore. It was more about the suspense. And to be honest with you, this movie doesn't really have a lot of gore in it. It has some, but not really a lot. It's more of just the suspense, like the big chase scene at the end when he's chasing Sally. He's got the chainsaw, she's screaming, he's running after, he's got the chainsaw. It's just so creepy, just, gives you goosebumps and just has you on the edge of your seat. Just like, oh my God, he's getting so close. And that's what I love about this movie. It's just, it's just scary. It's a really good, classic, old-fashioned, scary movie. Leatherface is definitely one of the most scariest, I think, out of the horror icons of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And just creepy, and there's always a lot of confusion on this movie. Is it based on a true story? Is it not? Even though it says that it is. But basically, if you want to get down to the true story, the true nature of it, it really isn't. It never took place in Texas. There was never a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The character of Leatherface is based on Ed Gein, who was a real-life serial killer from Wisconsin, I believe. But yeah, so there's elements of Ed Gein that they put into Leatherface. But yeah, other than that, nothing else is real. They never really took place in Texas. There was no chainsaw involved. I think really the only similarities with the two are Ed Gein he was a cannibal. He ate people, and he wore like a human face. Other than that, that's pretty much the only similarities. But other than that, creepy movie, super creepy. Watch it every Halloween. Got to. The sequels that they made, quite a few, weren't really that good. 2's all right. Dennis Hopper is kind of cool in the movie. 3 and 4, I think, were just crap. The remakes I thought were pretty darn good. And then, of course, Texas Chainsaw 3D, that most recent installment that came out, was actually cool. I liked it. It was a direct continuation, a direct sequel to this movie. Picked up where this one left off. And we're supposed to have actually a new Leatherface film coming out next year, actually entitled Leatherface. That's supposed to be more of a prequel to this, I believe. So hopefully we'll get that next year. And I believe Stephen Dorff is in it, from The Gate, that I showed you earlier. But anyways, 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, definitely number 2 in this top 10 list. All right, number 1, of course, none other than Jason. Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. And you ask, why do I like number 6 the best? To be honest with you, I agree. I think the first couple films are definitely better made films, but there's just something about number 6, 5, 6, 7, and 8, like the films in the middle of the series, is what I kind of grew up on. I watched those first before anything else, and I just always found them to be more entertaining. When I was a kid, around Halloween time, the whole month of October, I used to watch USA Up All Night, and used to watch these films on TV all the time. And for some reason, I always seemed to play like the 5 through 8. And it's like I really used to watching those films, and number 6 just ended up being my favorite. Like I said, I think it's the most entertaining. It really creeped me out a lot as a kid. And they're just so fun. Jason in general is just my all-time favorite. Just everything about it. Just when you think of horror films, and horror icons, Jason is number 1. Friday the 13th, I think, in my opinion. And definitely in the horror genre, he's definitely got to be number 1. The most well-known. Everybody knows the hockey mask. Everybody knows the machete. They know it's Jason. So just kind of like, to the public eye, it's just definitely number 1 out there, I think. But now, if I compare this, if I'm going to say, oh, Tommy, you think this is the number 1 greatest horror film of all time? No. Obviously, there's a lot of kick-ass, awesomely made horror movies like The Shining and The Exorcist. And, they're all great movies. I agree. But I'm just kind of based on a personal opinion of movies that I grew up on, that kind of mean something to me, that I find the most entertaining. And Jason's definitely number 1 to me. I have the most fun watching these. If you guys recently watched that video of my Friday the 13th marathon I did with my sister and her husband and Jess. But yeah, I always look forward to watching these. I do a marathon of these every single year, all 12 films. I'm hoping number 13 comes out next year. It's supposed to. The 13th installment, which is supposed to be another remake. We'll see how it turns out. But yeah, definitely number one to me. Jason will always be number one. I got Jason shit everywhere down here. He'll always be my favorite, but Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason lives. There you have it, everybody. My top 10 favorite horror films of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think of the titles. My top 10 list. Let me know what your guys' top 10 list is down in the comments below. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it was kind of hard to put it together. Definitely one of the hardest top 10 videos. But I think when it comes down to it, it's pretty spot on. So anyways, again, everybody, I appreciate you guys watching the video. Look out for some more top 10 videos coming soon. I think I'm going to try to bust out in the next couple of days here next week. I'm going to try to get my top 10 horror franchises out of the way. I want you guys to see my top 10 favorite franchises of all time for horror films. And then we'll see what else I put out. I know we're getting into the Christmas season now. So I'll definitely be going to be doing a top 10 favorite Christmas films, holiday films of all time. But anyways, thanks again for watching, everybody. Make sure you put a little thumbs up on this video. Drop a comment below. Share the video around. Subscribe. We'll check you guys later.